I'm changing things around because I'm really good at not sticking to TBRs. You having fun there? You are 5. I don't know how much I have left in this audiobook, but I don't love it.
It looked like a burrito. I'm trying to take a thumbnail and I look like a burrito.
Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with week 2 of the Owls Readathon. Some like curls in my hair because I just washed my hair, so we are super curly today. But I figured I should actually start this vlog at some point today. I have been doing some stuff, but it's mostly been working outside in the lawn. But I have been reading, or at least listening to my audiobook. So these are the 2 books that I brought over from last week. So my audiobook is The Everlasting Rose by Danielle Clayton. I am somewhere in chapter 32, so probably going to finish this one today. I'm not like super impressed with this book. I enjoy it while I'm reading it, and I do enjoy this book, but there's something that I feel disconnected from with this story. I don't know why that is. Things are like happening now, like we're getting near the end, and like I know there's one more book in this, at least one more book in the series, but that's the audiobook that I'm listening to. And then I am physically reading this one, which is The Missing Manuscript of Jane Austen by Suri James. I'm still on like page 4, like I literally have read the very beginning of the first chapter, and that's about it. I haven't really sat down and read, but I just feel like listening to audiobooks because I'm so close to being done with this one, because like that's where my attention is. But I thought I should at least start this vlog and say hello. It's Saturday, the 11th. We've been here for like a week and a half. Let's get started. Hopefully this vlog will not be as long as last week's, because last week's was long, but that's where we're at. And I'm going to keep listening and do nails and to find things to do while I listen, because I need to know what happens at the end of this book. Like I need to know, but I'm still like not invested. Does that make any sense? Anyway, that's where we're at today. I finished a book. Yay. I decided to give this one 3.5 stars because I think it suffers from second book syndrome, but like not in a bad way. Also, I can definitely see this series being wrapped up at this one. There is an epilogue to this which does kind of like question the future, but I think it does it in a way that could be open-ended. But according to Goodreads, there is a 3rd one, so we'll see what happens. But like, I can definitely see this being like the end of a series. But I did enjoy listening to this one on audiobook because the narrator was the same as the one that I listened to when I listened to the first in the series, and also because there was definitely because this is an arc, there's definitely some word changes and some sentences that have been rearranged, and just like little itty-bitty things. It doesn't have to do with the actual plot changing, just like the wording of things, and I appreciated having like the actual finished thing is what I was listening to. So I appreciate that one, and I did enjoy this book, not as much as the first one, but I did enjoy this, and I'm excited to see what else is going to happen in this world. So I have a Transfiguration complete, and it's a good day. So I have to pick up another audiobook, and I'm changing things around because I'm really good at not sticking to TBRs. So I decided to switch around a couple things. I was going to read Children of Vice and Virtue. No, Children of Vengeance and Virtue. Whatever the sequel to Children of Blood and Bone is, I was going to read for my History of Magic challenge. However, I put a hold on the first in the Earthsea series by Ursula K. Le Guin because Ashley from Frolic Fiction is doing a kind of read-along of that series, and I am not 100% sure how I feel about it yet, but my hold on the first audiobook came through, so I'm going to give the first book a chance. So I read The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I think it was just the whole scientific idea of that book that was the problem, and this is a fantasy book, and it does feature wizards and stuff, so I'm going to switch and do that one for my History of Magic instead. So I am going to be doing my other hand because I haven't finished doing my nails yet. So I think what I'm going to do is listen actually to, I found an audiobook of Sanderson and the Watsons, the unfinished works by Jane Austen, which is my potions read, which is to read a book under 150 pages, and this one's like 95, I think. It's not even 100. So I think I'm going to listen to that and read along just so that I can have something to read along with, because I do want to listen to The Wizard of the Earthsea, but I think I want to do this one first just so that I can actually read along with it. So I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this one because it's super tiny, and also these aren't finished works, but we'll see. I think one was unfinished and one was totally abandoned. That's what I'm looking for. But I think I'm going to pick up the audiobooks for these two because Jane Austen is hard for me to read without listening to the audiobook. I think it helps me personally because of her writing style and because these are both stories that I don't know. We're going to do that. So I'm going to do my nails and listen/read along with this one. But I finished a book, so yay, another one down. I'm on 4 books finished now out of 12. So Chris is on almost 6, so we gotta fix this, you guys. We gotta fix this. Hello! So I have some book updates for you from last night. I finished a book. I was reading Sanderson and the Watsons while I was doing stuff yesterday, because I did listen to this on audiobook while I read along, which I think was very helpful because some of the stuff I wouldn't have understood, which I'll get to in a second. But I listened to this right before going to bed, and I finished it because, like, it's not super long. It was my potions book, which was to read a book under 150 pages, and this one is not even 100 pages. I don't know how to rate this because they are unfinished works, so I did it on enjoyment and not like character development or anything like that because, like I said, it is unfinished. Out of these two books, I enjoyed the Watsons more, and that's the one that I believe she abandoned because it was not as drafted as the Sanditon one was. So what I mean by that is the Watsons was just like a 40-page paragraph, basically. Like, there wasn't really much to it besides that, whereas Sanditon actually had chapters that went all the way up to chapter 12. So Sanditon was one that she was definitely writing to be published, whereas Watson's, I feel like she was just writing to write. And I was more interested in the Watsons, which I find really interesting because the Watsons fits in really well with what her stuff was doing, and Sanditon starts to go in a different direction a little bit. It's really hard to kind of summarize it, but basically Sanditon follows this woman whose name is Charlotte, and I don't remember her last name, but this couple who is driving through the area who come from Sanditon break down, and the husband gets a kind of like a twisted ankle, and so he stays with Charlotte's family, and then he encourages the entire family to like come with him to Sanditon because they really love where they live, and it's like a seaside resort kind of town, and Charlotte goes with them. Literally, it's just like her basically observing the ridiculousness that is the people from this town. And so it kind of is more character driven than some of her other works. So like if that had actually been published, I think we would have seen a different side, or like started to see a new era of Jane Austen, which I think is really interesting. And the Watsons follows a family called the Watsons, and if I can understand it correctly, I believe there are 5 siblings, 4 girls and 1 boy, and it follows our main character whose name is Emma Watson, which just makes me happy. She's been living with her aunt, but her aunt just got remarried, and so she moved back with her family, and her mother has died, and her dad is very, very ill, and she gets invited to this ball from like family friends slash neighbors, and then she like meets all these different people. So there's like a big wealthy family that lives nearby that's like the one that if you get in their good graces, you're like good to go, and they are the Osbornes, and they have a friend called Mr. Musgrave, and Mr. Musgrave is known for being like a flirt and going after all the girls but never being serious about any of them. So Emma's like already known about that and kind of like brushes him off at the party, but like that intrigues him and the Osbornes, so like they go out of their way to like come visit Emma a lot. And I think that like if that had continued, maybe Emma would have ended up with, I don't think she would have ended up with the Musgrave dude, but I think she would have ended up with someone in the Osborne family. But I loved it because it was like I haven't actually gone into a Jane Austen book without knowing what I was going to expect for a very long time. There's 3 books that I read of hers last year that I had read for the very, very first time. I still knew the stories really well, and it was so, I loved going into her writing for the first time not knowing what was going to happen, especially having been like a huge fan of hers and really understanding her writing now. It was just a really, really cool experience. So I gave it 4 stars based on my enjoyment alone. It did feel like drafts. Like this was not finished because you'd have like people write in little things. Like she abbreviated Emma's sister's name, which was Elizabeth, and it was Eliz. So every time Elizabeth came up, it was that. She never wrote Mr. or Mrs. She just wrote M. So like you had to like kind of guess who was who. She never wrote everyone's full name out. She just used the like letter of their name. But it was so good. I really, really enjoyed getting into these worlds a lot more than I thought I would, which is very interesting. But I did enjoy the Watsons a little bit more than Sanditon because I was like hooked at the Watsons right away. And Sanditon, it took me a few chapters to get into it to kind of figure out what was happening. And then I was like, oh, now that I understand what's going on, I can enjoy this more. So that is another book done. So now I'm 5 books done, which is awesome. But I did start the audiobook of The Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I am enjoying it so far. I don't think the writing is anything spectacular. I'm only a chapter in, so according to, because I'm listening it to on audiobook, but I do have the ebook on Scribs just so I can follow along when I want to. And according to that, I'm only about like 9% of the way through. But the magic system is interesting. It reminds me, so far, like I said, I'm not very far into it, but so far it reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, like, world. And I don't know why that is, but it kind of reminds me of that, like, old-timey high fantasy world. I really like the narrator. The narrator is really awesome. I usually listen to my audiobooks on 1.25 or 1.5 speed, but I'm listening to him on just the normal speed because he's like, I don't know what it is about this narrator. He's not doing anything amazing, but he's so enthralling that, like, he is a storyteller. He just makes these characters human, and I'm loving it so much. So he is fantastic. I think the audiobook is really, really helping me get into this story. So I'm gonna keep hanging out and doing stuff. It's really gross outside today, but it's Sunday and it's Easter, so happy Easter, everyone who celebrates. And I've got another book done, and we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing, which I don't know what that is yet, but we'll find out. Hello. So, I have updates for you. So, I wanted to update you on my reading. This light is awful. So, I've decided a few things. One, I'm going to bump up my star rating for Sanditon and the Watsons to 5 stars instead of 4 because I can't stop thinking about it. And it's put me in this, like, major Jane Austen mood. And it doesn't also help that I'm reading this one, which I've discovered is about, I'd say, 75 to 80% the actual manuscript. Like, I'm on page 56 of this book, and the manuscript is, like, started. Like, they've already found the manuscript, and they're reading it. But most of this book is actually the manuscript, which makes me So happy. So while it's not a Jane Austen book, it's the closest thing we're gonna get now. I just want to read all things Jane Austen now. Anything that has to do with Victorian England or Jane Austen, I'm like there for. But I have so many thoughts, and even just the first like I can't find an angle I like. I have so many thoughts, and even just the first like 50 pages of this book, I can definitely tell that this author takes a lot of inspiration from Jane Austen, because her normal writing, like I haven't even gotten into the part that's supposed to be the Jane Austen part, just her normal writing is very, very similar to Jane Austen, but it just kind of feels like if Jane Austen were still alive today, this is how she would write. And like the other big thing about this for me is that the main character is literally my best friend and me combined. Y'all have met Lauren a few times. She and her best friend Laurel Ann, which first off is, if you say really fast, could actually turn into Lauren, met in college. They were assigned roommates the first year, like totally random from the college. Now, Lauren and I met in college. We'd actually picked each other, but we were roommates for all 4 years in college. So there's just a lot about like the best friends in this book that makes me think of Lauren and I have a lot of feelings. Like I've already tabbed this book 4 times and I'm barely even into it. I'm in love. That's all I'm gonna say. So it was a good choice. And then I also have updates on the Wizard of Earthsea. I don't know how much I have left in this audiobook, but I don't love it. But I've only got about 32 minutes left. I'm not in love with this world. It reminds me, I'm not in love with the world. I'm not in love with the story. So like, I don't feel really connected to the main character, but I just like don't really care about him. And the world itself reminds me a lot of the expansive like Middle Earth world that J.R.R. Tolkien has created for like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and stuff like that. So it gives me a lot of the same vibes as that. And I do like that world, but I don't know what it is. I just like don't care about what's happening, and I kind of just want it to be over. So that's fun. But I think I figured out why I like the audiobook, because it's not as polished as other audiobooks are. He takes a lot of breaks. He like will get really excited when like a scene has a lot of action, and he'll run out of air, so he has to pause and like get air and then continue. So it feels very human in the way that he's telling us this story. So I think that's why I like the audiobook. I'm not finished with it yet, but I'm predicting a 2 to 2.5 star rating, which is not great, but like it's just not my thing. I don't know what it is. I just don't care. But the narrator's name is Harlan Ellison, but I did want to mention his name because I know I'd mentioned him a few times already in this about how much I liked him. And honestly, like he's the only reason I'm getting through this book. So that one will probably be finished. Maybe not tonight. Maybe tonight. I don't know. I kind of just want to be done with it. So that's where we're at. We'll see if I finish a book. If I don't finish it tonight, then I will definitely finish it tomorrow, which means that I will have 6 books done, which means I would be halfway through my reading in just shy of half a month, which is actually alright. Like I'm doing alright. That's my update for now. Chris is on 7 books, which is not okay. Yeah. I just finished it, and I decided to give it 2.5 stars, so I was pretty close to what I thought I was going to do. But I did kind of like the ending. It's interesting, so I think I might continue next month or whatever the next time that they're doing the second one for the Gwen-along. But I didn't actually hate it. The ending kind of made it a little bit better. But I still got 2.5 stars. So that means that I am going to pick a new audiobook. So I'm going to go with The School for Good and Evil, which is about like 650 pages. But this is for Magical Creatures, I think, because there's beaks on the cover. So that's my next book. Hello, it is much later in the day. I haven't really been doing much, so I forgot to vlog most of it. But I put on full makeup because I need to film a video today that is coming out like in a week, and I haven't done it yet. So I'm going to do that today because I felt like getting pretty for it. So I'm going to go ahead and record this video and then hopefully get some reading done, because I did actually read a little bit of the Jane Austen book that I'm reading, the Missing Manuscript of Jane Austen. I'm currently on page like 80, 88. So I've read not much, but I am reading the actual manuscript now, and I really am enjoying it. The one thing that I will say is, from what I've noticed so far, is that there is very, very little difference between the writing that is Jane Austen and the writing that is just like the normal book. I need to put you down because my arm hurts. There we go. So yeah, the writing on this book I feel like is not different enough from when she's Jane Austen and when she's just like the normal writer, just because she gets a lot of inspiration from Jane Austen's writing herself. That's my thoughts on this so far, is that I am enjoying it a lot and getting a look at a book that already sounds like it would be something that Jane Austen would write. There's just like little things, like for example, she's focusing on describing the houses and what they look like, and even at one point she describes what the house looks like. It's like a Georgian house or something. Yeah, a Georgian front. And Jane Austen probably wouldn't have described the front of the house like that. So there is things that she has to do that modernizes it so that it makes sense for people who don't, I guess, read Jane Austen normally, or for like the modern reader. And I totally get that, and I was expecting that. I just wish that the switch between her and Jane Austen's writing is a little bit more distinct. But I'm really enjoying it. I love the story so far. I already have an idea as to what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure I know how the story is going to end. I just don't know how to get there. Based on like what I know of Jane Austen and have read of Jane Austen's works, I think I know what the end goal and the end game of this book is going to be, or this manuscript is going to be. I just don't know how we're going to get there. I'm all kinds of excited about it. So I would love to sit down and actually like read more of this today. But I need to record my video now. So I'm going to go do that and then maybe read. I don't know. I haven't really been doing much today. Today's been a chill day. I feel like if Hogwarts students were quarantined, that's the look I'm going for right now. So we don't actually have any reading updates to talk to you about today, but I do have, well, kind of, a little bit of reading updates. So, as many are probably aware, the Reading Rush is doing like a 4-day stay-at-home edition, and it starts tomorrow, which is Thursday. So it goes Thursday through Sunday. And I kind of want to participate and see if I can fit some of my Owls books in with the prompts. I think I found a way to do it if I don't count on the fact that I've definitely already started some of the books that'll count for these prompts. Which is why I say low-key, because like I want to see if I can do it, because that would be so cool. So there are only 4 prompts for the Reading Rush, and I have 3 books. I tried to find one book that would fit all of them, and I don't think I have it. And 2 of them are ones that I'm currently reading, so you've already seen this. But we have a book with a house on a cover, and I don't have any books that are in my TBR that have a house on the cover. However, the School for Good and Evil, which I technically have started, but I'm literally on like page 2, it has like the castles in the corner, and like castles are houses for people. So I'm gonna go with that one and see if it works. The next one is to read a book in the same room the entire time. I also have Paper Hearts, which is my Ancient Runes? It is. It's my Ancient Runes prompt, which is to read something with a heart on the cover or in the title. So we've got hearts here, but it's told in verse, which of course you can't see because the light hates me. So like this can be done within like an hour or two because I can get through it really quickly. And so I'm thinking like maybe that one could be for sitting in one place. And then the next book is one that I've like technically already started, and that is the manuscript book, The Missing Manuscript by Jane Austen. I'm only on page 88. I haven't read anything since I updated you last, but oh my gosh, you guys can't. The light is awful. Okay, here we go. So I haven't really read much since I updated you guys last, and I'm not very far into the book, but I have started it, so I don't know if this one counts. But this could count for a book that makes you smile, because it definitely does, or a book set somewhere you wish to go, because I would love to go to Regency England. Like, that would be so cool. So I'm like low-key participating, like I said, because I technically have started 2 of the books that I'm thinking about reading, but I just thought it might be fun to try to find books that I'm reading for the owls that would work for the Reading Rush prompts. I thought I'd come on here and just talk to you. I might not even use this clip, so we'll see. A readathon within a readathon, because I have no chill. Hello! So, I don't know why I double waved like that. That was weird. So it's Friday. Oh, I really wanted to make today Saturday. It is Friday night, and I think I'm gonna wrap up this vlog here just because I have been reading today. I haven't really been doing much last couple of days. I wasn't in the reading mood yesterday, and I watched a version of Persuasion, which you guys saw, because I'm in like this heavy Jane Austen mood, and I don't know what's happening anymore. But, so I did that yesterday instead, and I did read a little bit, but I didn't read too much, and I read a little bit today, so I will talk about what I've read, but I thought I would go ahead and end this here, because I'm probably not going to do much tonight, and if I do, it's going to be so late that it's probably going to be tomorrow morning anyway, and I can just tell you about it tomorrow. So we're going to wrap up week 2 here. I did end up reading 3 books. 3. Oh, math. I did end up reading 3 books this week, so that is great, and I just dropped everything. So I'm still in my read 3 every single week to finish mode, and I'm also still trying to see if I can complete the reading rush. We'll see what happens, because there's 2 more days, and yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. So we'll see if I can maybe sort of possibly do that, but who knows. But so the first book that I completed this week was The Everlasting Rose by Danielle Clayton, which is the second in the Belle series, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars, and then I listened/read along to Stanton and the Watsons by Jane Austen, which is her 2 unfinished works, so I gave that one 5 stars, and then I also finished The Wizard of Earthsea, which is the first in the Earthsea series by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I gave that one 2.5 stars. Considering that last week I gave all 3 books 4 stars, and this time I got a little all over the place, I'm okay with that, because you gotta have some bad ones or some meh ones to make the really good ones great. That's what I've read so far /completed. but I am still currently reading these two. I am like 40% of the way through this, so I'm on page 160 in here. So I just finished volume 1, and I think I had 10 chapters in it, and now we're in volume 2 and on chapter 1 of that. So we did have like a little interlude in the middle, but I'm still really loving this. It's taking me a little, like, it's taking me a while to get through it, and I don't think that's the fault of anything in this book. I think that's just that, like, I'm trying to absorb every little thing, so it's taking me twice as long to read it. But like, I'm okay with it, and I am so invested in the characters in the manuscript more than I am invested in the actual characters in the story who found the manuscript. But I'm okay with that because, like I said, most of this book is going to be the manuscript, so I'm okay with being invested in that portion. And I feel like I'm learning a lot about Jane Austen because our writer knows, like, is a huge Jane Austen fan and has done tons of research about Jane Austen. So like the things that like our main characters outside of the manuscript are talking about Jane Austen and the manuscript and how it like kind of parallels with Jane Austen's life. It's fascinating, and it just makes me happy, and it's put me, well, actually reading the 2 unfinished works by Jane Austen has put me in like a real Jane Austen historical fiction mode, and it's just like, it's a problem. But yeah, so I adore this. I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 star for sure, and hopefully I can finish that in the next couple of days. And then I'm also carrying over The School for Good and Evil by Soman Shinani. This is the 3rd one. It's called The Last Ever After. I'm only 2 chapters in, so I'm on page 34, so like barely anything. And there's like, not, like I said, not much I can say because I'm only a little bit in, but I'm also the 3rd in a series, like I don't want to spoil anything. But we've had a chapter with each of our people, so we see where our humans are after everything that's happened in the last one. I don't know, like I don't want to say anything, but like it's already hit me in the feels. So these are the 2 that I'm going to bring over from this week into next week. I think that's all I've got for you guys today. I'm like 95% sure this is the shirt that I wore last Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, the 2nd full week of the Owls. But let me know down below if you guys are taking part in the Owls, how your 2nd week has been, what is something fun that you were just so excited about for reading right now. I know a lot of people are kind of in slumps with everything that's going on, and I'd love to know something that you are excited about, whether or not that is a book. If you did like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you would like to be part of this awesome growing family. I have all my social media down there as well if you would like to follow along on any of those. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.